In the deep recesses of one's mind, there is a voice, a guiding light through the darkness, a connection to the other side.
You're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
A pathway to spiritual that echoes with enlightenment. The voice of spirit.
The voice of spirit.
You are a function of this total galaxy, bounded by the Milky Way, and that furthermore, this galaxy is a function of all other galaxies.
Your journey starts here and now. With your host and connection to spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, as always, a very, very warm welcome. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you happen to be in the world. It's the last show of the year, and already looking forward to the new shows in the new year. Have a wonderful medium and psychic on the show tonight, Joy Giovani, and if you want to contact her, you can get her on www.joygiovanni, and that's JOYGIOVANNI.net, and you can contact her there, and you can get her on Facebook. As so many good mediums, Joy remembers so-called imaginary friends and coincidences from being very small, and in this she's like so many others, and even as a child there was a certain spirituality that was there, and sensing people's emotions, and really understood that there was a deep connection to something bigger than ourselves and to nature. She was a fine arts major at college, and she was a trainer and became very interested in holistic health and wanted to be a practitioner. Part of the course was massage therapy, and what she loved about it was being intuitively led along with learning techniques. She's done various things, including modelling and acting, and she became known internationally for a short time under her own name as WWE Diva, which she found amazing. Around 10 years ago, she began to open up spiritually and psychically again, and was led to the right teachers and mentors, and became a Reiki master, certified psychic, and angel card reader. Drawn towards mediumship, which in a sense was weird because she wasn't really sure whether she believed in it. And I can kind of understand that. Sometimes we get led along particular paths and we don't see the other paths that are there. She began to work with angels and guides for healing, and began development as a trance medium to channel messages directly. She has been trained by James Van Praagh, and mentored under him, and became a certified advanced medium, and also tutored or mentored by Andy Bing. So just a quick rundown, Joy, but it's how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
No problem at all. No problem at all. I find it endlessly inspiring that when we incarnate and we come here, that we have that direct connection and that knowledge from spirit. So it's like, we don't have to learn. I don't mean that to be egotistical, but we have that connection. We know there's different things, and it's wonderful to have that, because it can get, if I say beaten out of us, I don't mean directly, but if parents don't understand and it's just silly friends, it's a child thing, we can lose it a lot. So I feel that you're very lucky that you retain that.
I didn't actually retain it all the way through. It's just now knowing the mediumistic ability, things make more sense to me looking back. I mean, a lot of kids have an imaginary friend, but most of them not at 1.5 or 2 years old when they're just learning language. So those kind of things, it's like, oh, that's a little strange.
That's a little world. And of course we do get to a point where we get grounded and we kind of lose it, and it's up to our own path and our contract as to whether we reconnect with it ever or reconnect with it as an older person. But it's fantastic. Let me ask, what do you enjoy most about your work?
Wow, that's a tough question. There's so many elements to it that I really love. I still do practice Reiki and hands-on healing and trance medium healing in that way. So I love the healing aspects that we have access to through the spirit world. But in the one-on-one reading setting, I just love the healing that is able to come from the sessions and from the validations of, the spirit people saying, do you remember when we took that trip on the beach that no one else knows about? And it just shifts something in people. And it's actually one of the things that made me kind of reconcile it with, okay, I've, learned this part of religion, and some religions it's not okay. But people are receiving this great relief. And how can healing be from anywhere than a beautiful place? So it is one of the ways that I became okay with it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do forget that mediums heal as well. There is healing by talking. There is healing of the emotions when connections are made, and I think it's an important thing. Sometimes people just want a connection, a message. Some people want all kinds of proof, don't they? And they're happy with that, perhaps. And then it's like, that's wonderful, but you're only getting a small part of it. It's a complete holistic thing, isn't it? Or can be.
I think so. It's nice when it can be. And really, it is so powerful for that, for example, that grieving parent who does feel their child around to have an experience with a medium and get that validation. Yes, you are actually experiencing that. And yes, it's okay to allow yourself to enjoy those moments.
Yeah. And I think it's very interesting because as a grieving mother or father, you do sort of expect to have feelings about your child towards your child, and that's perfectly normal. But to understand that isn't just a trick of the mind, it isn't just the longing, but there is real connection there. I think that gives a huge amount of comfort.
I agree. I love that part too. It's horrible to have loss of any kind, and it's of course something that's big in life that we all have to deal with. But I think if mediumship can just lighten that load just a little bit, then that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. I've come to learn that the whole purpose of mediumship and the connection with spirit is to, as you lightly touched on, is to change that connection from religion to religion. There's dogma, it's bound in spirit, don't tie you down, and it's and all religions are built on spirit and various experiences. I was talking to a priest many years ago, and contrary to popular belief, a lot of priests are psychic, quite a few are mediums. But what happened with this particular gentleman, of course, he related everything as a religious experience rather than a spiritual one. And I thought it was a shame because he was missing an awful lot. And I don't know whether any listeners agree with that, but, there is a big difference between being religious and being spiritual.
Yeah, I agree. And I think sometimes it's just people titling it within their comfort zone so they can label it however they want. But I think any experience that we can have with something greater than ourselves just helps us one more step down our path to discovering, whatever it is we're each meant to discover on our own.
Absolutely, and it creates links. And we were talking a little bit before the show, weren't we, about how people are more understanding of it now. We're not so frightened of talking about it, and that eases the burden, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I think for many years in media, just with artistic license, right? I mean, a lot of the spiritual experiences were kind of skewed a little more scary, if you will. I was terrified about a lot of that stuff for years. Yeah. It's kind of a joke. My kids are much older now, but I didn't really even allow those type of shows in my house. And it's funny looking back because I wouldn't say I don't believe in it. I would say I don't want to open doors that I don't understand. And then once I really started to develop and get into it, I kind of binge watched a little bit of everything, which, I mean, as you know, there's some production value and things are edited for time. So where you might see, a clip of a reading on television that probably lasted 90 minutes and you're seeing 4 minutes of fantastic, beautiful evidence. I think it just gives people a window in to see like, oh, okay, this isn't scary and things aren't flying around the room. And, this is genuine evidence that this medium couldn't have possibly known otherwise. It's usually things you can't search up, like really small, intimate details.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I've found that when you're speaking to a loved one in spirit, you sometimes take the inflections in the voice. You use strange words that you may not have heard before, or in an odd context that the original communicator would have used. And quite often it's the little things like that, isn't it, that sort of convince people. Maybe little pet names for each other, or things like that, things that slip out.
Yeah, along that line, we were in Florida and we had some demonstrations there. I work with another gal pretty frequently. Her name's Kelly. She goes by SoCal Medium. And it was a group demonstration, and I was sort of in the inflection of the grandfather, and I just kept telling this granddaughter who was in the audience, your grandpa just keeps saying, you're so bright, you're so bright. And everyone gasped. I don't usually use that word in conversation. And I was like, what did I just say? And they said, that's their last name is Bright. I said, okay.
I love that when, because people imagine it as psychics and mediums, when we're communicating and we're given evidence, that we know everything. And it's nice to just be surprised ourselves, isn't it, when people say, that. Because there's nothing given by coincidence. So it's nice when they slip something in. I was doing a demonstration many years ago, and I like to chat to people. So I came off the platform and had a coffee and was chatting to people. And I'd apparently given a message to a lady. And she said to me, I didn't know you had a limp. Well, I haven't. And it was her husband that come through that had the limp. So, sometimes when you're heavily influenced by that connection, it can bring out very, very strange things. Where are your plans placed for moving forward into the next year? Because of course it's very close now, isn't it?
It's so close. To be honest, I've learned to place my plans with spirit very loosely. I find sometimes I think I have one idea or goal, and spirit is like, no, you're going to do this totally different thing. It's funny how you mentioned that I did the WWE, because my initial intention was to do traditional film and television. And then I got offered this amazing role. I mean, and we're in front of huge live audiences, and I couldn't understand okay, this is great and all, but why am I needing to be in front of live audiences? And then when the mediumship piece started coming later on into more full vision, it's like, oh, okay, it's because I'm going to be in front of large audiences and I need to know how to not like pee my pants when I'm doing it. It's scary.
Absolutely. Well, I remember the first time I got up in front of an audience, and I was at primary school, so first school, I think, probably in the States, and I'd learnt to swim, and I did a width of the pool, the sort of along the short end, and they called my name, and you get a little ribbon which is stitched to your trunks and that. And I got the ribbon, and I turned round and I saw a sea of faces and promptly fainted. So not a very auspicious thing. But when it came to my very first demonstration, I was talking about this to a very good friend of mine the other day, and Spirit said, I'd been training for about 8 years at that point, and Spirit told me my local church, the medium wasn't going to turn up. So I thought, that's interesting. I'll go along and see if that happens. And so I was sitting in the audience, and the chairperson got up and said, the medium's not turned up. Are there any mediums in the audience? And so Spirit pushed my hand up. So I'm thinking, and she said to me, are you a medium? So I said yes, and promptly took the service. And again, I think if if Spirit hadn't kind of laid that trap for me, I would have thought about it too long.
Oh, absolutely.
But it was funny because I really fooled myself. Thought I'm just interested to see if they turn up. We can be I speak for myself. I don't speak for you, but sometimes you can be so dumb as to just not see what's in front of you.
It is funny how that works.
Yeah. But as I say, if you think about it too much, I would probably not have gone.
Well, it's funny. Similarly, I had my first workshop was with James Van Prague, and he did it alongside with Lynn Probert, who's amazing. And the promise was by the end of this week-long workshop, you'll know if you're a psychic or if you're also a medium. And I was like, great, I need to know that. So then he does a platform demonstration with Lynn, and they say they're going to call up volunteers to do platform. And as they're demonstrating, I get this tingling in my stomach, and I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to do that? Like, no, you can't be serious. Like, I was already in touch with my guides and things at that point. But so I similarly got like a nudge to raise my hand to volunteer. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I just kind of sent up a little thought or prayer, whatever you like, and said, if this is for me, and this is in fact the intention for Spirit to, move me this way, I need to know I can do this, because right now, like, I'm not seeing it. I'm not connecting these dots. And Lynn actually called me up to demonstrate, and I did it. And I was like, okay, call and I'll follow, I guess. This is what's happening. So, but I really love it.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful because I think, again, what people don't understand is when you're doing a reading, there's a particular energy. When you're teaching or being taught in circle, there's a particular energy. And there's a particular energy from platform. And I found with some of my students that they get up on platform within the church, really, while we're doing circle. And they stand there and they think, the energy's changed. There's nobody with me. And there's that fear that kind of settles in. But I think as they get used to the energy has to be different, that they really go for it. And,
it's funny. I think people also don't realize that we don't know what we're going to say next because we work in the moment. So it's like, okay, I have no idea what I'm about to say, but something's going to happen. I'm sure of it. So it's a little bit of a trust fall every time, if you will.
It is. And it's quite a big boundary to breach, isn't it? Because you get up, and you have a little bit of confidence. You think, well, I've done this before. And then you see all the faces and you think, oh, there's nothing coming through. Oh, my God. And, you're kind of thinking this. And then there's a round of applause and you think, oh, it's over.
Yeah.
I must have done okay, I hope. And again, I think a lot of people don't appreciate that. I'm sure you find this with your readings. I get this with mine when a person rings back and they say, "Oh, do you remember you said?" And it's like, actually, no, I don't. As soon as the phone goes down or we cut off, that's it. I have no idea.
No, I'm the same. It's a funny thing, and I do sometimes I often do private readings in my office, and I'll have the sitter will often refer someone else, a friend or family member, and I even let them know, don't bother telling that person to tell them that they're related to you, because I just won't remember at all any of this anyway. So
absolutely.
But I think it's good. And I do, in a sitting, if it is something that I was already aware of about that person, I'm clear to let them know, okay, I did already know this about you, but now this new information's coming forward. So we can work that way as well.
Absolutely. And I think it's very important to acknowledge that you know someone, because especially if you've become friends and you've read for them a few times, because people will automatically think that was a good message, that was great. And then if they hear them say, oh, yes, I know Joy, immediately the barriers go, okay. And it really takes the shine off it. So I think it's very important to be honest. even though, again,
Yes.
people don't understand that we don't remember anyway,
Well, yeah, we did one demonstration. I've been mentoring with Andy Bing now for 2 years, going into 3. I'm just one of those people that believes in lifelong learning. We can always reach another level, I think, with our learning. And we did a student demonstration, and it was probably half public and half other mediums. And I was like, oh, geez, I know a lot of these people, and what's going to happen? And this one gal who I've met her mom in spirit several times through practice readings, but she came with completely different information that she'd never shared in a reading before. So that really is the magic of it. If you think, the spirit world, each person there has a lifetime of memories. So they've got plenty.
Absolutely, and I think if I try not to get drawn to people I know, because I could always say to them like, look, I've got a message for you or whatever, but I try not to do that publicly.
Right.
But what I ask is, if whoever's in spirit is really insistent, no, it's got to be now, whatever. I always ask for information that has not been given. And spirit are very compliant, and they're happy to do that. And it's because we have a lot more control, don't we, over the way that we work, because we need to be happy, don't we?
Well, and I think it's for the benefit of both sides, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go into a break in a minute or two. Are there any events coming up that you want to highlight in this minute or two that we've got left?
We have several events. So we do every Tuesday, well, most Tuesdays excepting holidays, we do a Facebook Live free group reading at noon Pacific. We'll be starting that up again on January 7th, and you can find that on my Facebook page, which is Giovani Psychic Medium. And we have some public events coming. One is January 31st at Rise. It's RIZE Studio in San Diego. And then another on February 21st at BOTI, that's BOTI Studio. That one is in Orange County. And then we've got some smaller public events here, but people can always check on my website, joygiovanni.net. There's a public events page to see. And we're hoping to spread out into some public events in Las Vegas and Arizona in 2020.
Well, I'm sure you will, but I've just got a huge tick for that, so I know that will happen. Which is
excited to call you back and let you know when it does.
Absolutely. I've got a gentleman here that's got a moustache which is quite long, so it's V'd over the mouth and goes down just past the edges of the mouth. It's quite straight, and he's got sort of I would say mid-brown hair, but I know there's a little bit of red in it. Very tall, very slim, and as you were saying that, he appeared and he just drew a big tick for me. So I don't know if he's got any control with it or he's helping to organise it in spirit, but definitely that will happen. Fantastic. Okay, we're just going to go into a break. So if you're wanting to chat to Joy at all, then you can get us on 702-425-9230 or in any of the chat rooms, and we'll be straight back.
This is the voice of spirit, your connection to the other side.
To understand something spiritually, you must experience it. And in order to experience it, you have to experience it in your imagination.
Explore with us by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Everything that now exists was once imagined. Therefore, everything that is going to exist must first be imagined.
Back with your guide to spirit, Leo Bonomo. After these brief words from our sponsors. Immerse yourself in an epic journey through time, where ancient mysteries unfold within a story of love and betrayal, as well as a battle of good versus evil in The Emissary Book 1. The reader's favorite Gold Medal Award winner for Visionary Fiction 2019, the action and adventure of The Emissary continues in The Emerald Tablet, Book 2. The 2019's Bronze Medal Award winner, The Emissary and The Emerald Tablet by Tamara Veach and Rennie DeFazio are both available now on Amazon.com. Let your reading adventure begin.
Monday nights are about to become hauntingly good, as Reverend Sean Whittington possesses the airwaves with Vegas Supernatural. Tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for Vegas Supernatural, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. There's a war raging between good and evil. The question is, which side are you fighting on? Tune in Monday nights as Reverend Sean Whittington sets the new standard for paranormal radio with some of the most influential personalities in the world today. Vegas Supernatural, hosted by Reverend Sean Whittington, every Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The one show even the devil doesn't want you to hear.
You love them enough to do anything for them.
Mom, I need to be wiped.
Coming!
Including checking NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Great. It's great. I think it's great.
The all-new KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Great.
Please make a note of it.
It's great.
Are you ready to expand your consciousness? Ready to dive deep within this profound planetary ascension? Then you're ready for the Universal Consciousness Show. Live Mondays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Hosted by Augie Nost and Diana Seraphine. It's time to expand your consciousness. A time to learn new modalities. To further understand
The all.
The Universal Consciousness Show will take you on a magical journey as you explore an array of possibilities. From the paranormal to UFOs and aliens, as well as banned medical cures, you'll learn to activate knowledge hidden deep within your DNA.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Hosted by Augie Nost and Diana Seraphine. Live Mondays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. A deeper understanding of the universe is but a show away.
Welcome back to the Voice of Spirit, your connection to the other side.
There's no accidents in this universe. We all show up here with a purpose. There's an intelligence that is a part of everything and everyone, and all of us are connected to it.
Connect with us on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us live in our chat room at KCORradio.com. To get a free reading during the show, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers, use Skype name KCOR Radio. And now, inspirational clairvoyant medium, psychic, and your connection to the spirit, the host of the Voice of Spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, welcome back. We've got Joy Giovani, a wonderful medium and psychic on the show. And if you have missed the first part of the show, do not forget you can get it on the archive, and you can go to KCORradio.com and just go to the archive, and you can pick up and download from there. As you heard in the advert, if you want to call in, then do call in. If you want to ask questions on anything, whether it's how Joy developed or perhaps hints about your own development, then do contact us. And if you can't ring, there are the chat rooms in Twitter, Facebook, and of course in the studio. So if you have any questions at all, do call in. or text in. Yeah, we were talking, weren't we, Joy, during the break about mediumship and how it can sometimes, depending on the kind of family you're in, imaginary friends and such can be frowned on, and it can have an effect, can't it?
Yeah, and I think it's just really easy to dismiss what kids are saying just because they're small and they don't have a lot of life experience. And but over the years, I've learned that they are so much more raw and openly intuitive, I think, than we are. So if they don't get told not to be, I mean, which we can often discourage just for sake of manners sometimes, even where it's like, oh, I don't like that person. And as adults, it's easy to say like, no, you've got to be polite and say hello. But really, why? If they have a feeling about someone, I've learned now maybe it's better to honor that.
Yeah, absolutely, because then it also reinforces with the child that that they need to follow their feelings. They need to follow that intuition that's there. And when we first come here, we're very much more connected to spirit than we are, and of course there's a swap over at some point when we need to be grounded and that. And I think during that mentoring period, it is very important to acknowledge that there are other things. Of course, we see lots of books now, don't we, on children. Strangely, a lot of it seems to occur around the age of 4, where they're having incarnation or reincarnation experiences and other lives. And I'm not sure whether 4 is a trigger point, but I've also always known that between the age of 1 and perhaps around 5, maybe 6, we're more connected to spirit. So I think generally children are taken much more seriously now, especially if the parents or one of the parents is aware. And there must be a reason for that, mustn't there? That children, there are books now with lots of children recounting past lives.
I find that just fascinating. I actually had a client tell me just last week that when she was young, she used to tell her mom, "Oh, you're not my mommy. That lady who lives down the street by the railroad tracks, that's my mommy." So it's fascinating to me, all of the, past life experiences, and it's mostly things that there's no way that child could have known or perceived or imagined at such a young age. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, there was a book, I can't remember the author's name, but it's called Life Before Life. It's a very well-known book. And there was a little child in there that was about the age of 6, and he was drawing intimate details of fighter cockpits. He'd never seen a plane. Where all the switches were, the lights and that kind of thing. And it turned out, he was born in England, and it turned out that he was a German World War II fighter pilot, and he actually met the family. So, when people go, well, it's a lovely story, he must have seen it on TV. A child of that age cannot memorize every switch in the right place. I mean, amazingly detailed.
And TV, the details are often wrong about those type of things.
Well, yeah, because they are mocked up. They don't show you the inside of a real fighter jet. They mock one up, and of course you've got all the cutting, so there are real jets in the sky. But it has to be to a level in film, doesn't it? And I suppose whatever the budget, there's only so much budget.
It's just fascinating, though. That's.
Absolutely, and I think one of the fascinating things is that it's more and more acceptable. So now when a child says, this happened, I remember that, because we talk about it more, that the parents may say, well, we'll see how it goes. And, it's going on for 2 or 3 years. We'll investigate. And I think it's wonderful. We've got a lady, she's a regular on the phone to the show, Darcy, and Darcy's looking for a reading. Hi, Darcy. How are you?
Hi, Leo. Hi, Joy. I'm good.
Hi.
I'm here with my friend Penny, and she would like to talk to you guys. She's never called in, so.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Hi, Penny. How are you?
Oh, okay. Just a minute here. Let me give her the phone.
Oh, yeah.
I'm supposed to talk to this person? Hello?
Hi, Penny. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Leo?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Enjoying the festivities and looking forward to the new year. So I hope you had a good time. This is Joy.
We had a great Christmas.
Fantastic. Here's Joy, and if you would like to talk to her.
Hey, Penny, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, Joy. Hey, I got a couple questions.
Sure, I'll answer them as best as I can.
People talk to me.
And by people, you
that
mean
aren't
people
alive.
from the other side, like people that that aren't in physical incarnation?
Yes. And sometimes they don't leave me alone.
Is this happening often, like in the evening or when you're trying to settle down for sleep?
It's been happening my whole life.
Okay. Is it throughout the day?
And it makes me tired. Pardon?
Is it throughout the day, just all day long, or are there certain times of day you find it to be more concentrated?
I can ignore them when I'm working because I'm busy. My mind's on something else. But if there's any downtime, there it is.
Yeah.
Chitter chatter. I'm like,
well,
really?
Is this something that you're
Really?
Yeah. Is this something that you're wanting to develop more and work with further, or is it something that you're wanting to not have at all at this point?
Well, I'm not gonna blow my head off because of it, but it does get a little annoying because you're like, for Pete's sake, shut up.
Yeah, that's understandable.
And
One
then
thing you can try, do you have a meditation practice at all for yourself?
No.
You can consider
I'm
doing a
supposed to
certain time
meditate?
of day where you'll do a meditation, and then that's a signal to the spirit world, okay, this is the time I'd like you to come communicate with me. So you're giving them a time that you find appropriate where they can come communicate with you, share information, they can check out your space, you can start learning how to communicate with them. And then when it's not that time, it's almost as though you just kind of imagine closing down and shutting those doors. There's a little bit of a joke about it that so blending and communicating with spirit is a two-way communication. So there's a little part of you inside there that must be wanting to hear from them or be aware of them, or even just mentally check in and be like, okay, you guys still there? Okay. Even though you're not wanting to hear from them all the time. It is both sides having to connect.
They never shut up. They follow me to work.
You can consider giving them
all the time.
Yeah,
I'm like, you guys got to go.
You can consider giving them a more specific time that you're willing to sit in meditation and communicate, and then that's the designated time, and all the other times are not. Does that make sense?
Well, Darcy told me that you guys said I should just tell him, not now.
You can, but then they're still wanting to communicate with you, so you may want to consider giving them a specific time, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it does. I just don't know how to get them to understand that. They're like, hang out.
There are. I'm sorry. I've forgotten your name completely because I was just listening to someone who's here with me. And what's your name again? I do apologise.
Penny.
Penny. Okay, Penny. There are specific times during the evening and the morning when we relax and we begin to open up. So the ideal situation for a medium is that very, very dreamy, half awake, half asleep condition. And that's when we're most open to spirit. So would you understand, whilst it is all during the day, that it can be more impactful when you're trying to get to sleep or wake up?
I know, but it's like a monkey on my back.
Yeah, I do understand. So at those periods when you're most open, would you know what the chakras or chakras are?
Say that one more time.
Would you know what the chakras or the chakras are? It's the spiritual power points on the body.
No, I probably don't know that.
Okay, so if I spell that for you, it's CHAKRA, chakra. Basically, when we train to be a medium or a psychic, we learn how to manipulate those. For the purposes of teaching, we open those and then we close those. And what happens at those points during the evening or the morning is they open up. So one thing you can do, if you look it up, it doesn't matter how you imagine those closing down, but if you see them shutting or closing, that is part of the control. The other thing you need to do is you need your guide to take a little bit of control, but you need to say to these people, I'm not working. This is not appropriate. You can be forceful. You do have control. I think what's happened, because I don't know how old you are, Penny, but I'm being taken back 20, 30 years at least.
54.
Oh, bless you. So I'm being taken back 20 or 30 years. And you have got used to this way of working. And so when you say to them, I'm not interested, go away, I'm trying to sleep, or I'm trying to work, they're not listening either. So you do need to be a little bit
No, they're not.
Yeah. So they have got used to you, if you like, not meaning it or not keeping your word. So what you need to do is to tell them very firmly, I'm not interested.
I have to be mean.
A little mean, if you like, if that's one way of putting it. But you have to be firm and say, I'm not working, I'm not having it. They will begin to take notice. It has been a long time, so they'll take a little bit of taking the hint. But you can tell your guide, I'm not happy with this, I don't want this, sort it out for me. So you need to be firm, but your guide has allowed you, because of the way you are, to continue, if you like, this bad practice. But it can be taken care of. Does it help you, what Joy said and what's just come through?
Yes, I'll have to practice that. But no, they even hover over my car, for God's sakes.
Yeah. I think one of the things people forget is the spirit get very excited when they know that you can sense them and can talk to them. They don't have time in spirit. There is no day or night generally, unless you go to lower levels. And so when we're in pitch black, they see it as daylight. So they have no boundaries as to this is not the right time. And unfortunately, if we interact when we're not supposed to, this is why we get sleepless nights and that kind of thing. You know, if we're talking about...
exactly. And they do. They keep me awake all night. They won't stop. They won't shut up.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
So it is a question of being firm with them. You need to to tell your guide to deal with it as well, because I think it might take a little while, because they're not taking you seriously, because it's like, you know, you've said endless times, it's not appropriate, go away, and they think, oh, that's what Penny does, don't worry about it, she just says it. Have you anything to add, Joy, do you think?
No, I think that's great advice. I think if you can just give them a designated time that you're willing, and then the rest of the time, you know, like Leo said, you've got to just firm up a bit, because since we're in a physical body, we have control, you know, or can establish control over when is an appropriate time and when's not. So it will take some work, just because it's, like Leo mentioned, it's a practice that's developed over some time. So it'll be needing to create a new practice and a new way of working if you're willing to do it.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I'm willing to turn them off. I just don't know how to.
There are things,
and you know,
that you can. There are things that you can do. Sorry, Penny, go on.
No, I'm just saying, like, there are certain times that I'm like, oh, for Pete's sakes, just stop. I mean, I can't even hear the TV because they are just chitter-chatters. And they just go and go and go, and they're like, I'm like, no. I feel like I'm going crazy sometimes, honestly.
I do understand. If you definitely want to stop this permanently, there are different things that you can do. You can close down the chakras. If you look them up and then imagine them closing, whichever way that might be. If you see pictures of chakras as flowers, you can see the flowers closing. I see them as lights. You can see them just dim and go out. So that is something that you could do. You would need to do that before you go to sleep, and you would need to do that in the morning. So you're physically cutting off. The other thing that you can do is to imagine brilliant white light I would say in the house, but certainly in the bedroom. Paint the walls and ceiling with it. Paint along where the walls and ceiling and floor joins, and imagine as brilliant a white light as you can when you do that. If you want to say a prayer, that's okay. You don't need to. But I would go through the whole house and treat the toilet as different, as a little section, the stairs as a little section. If you do that every day, and once you get used to it, you can do it very quickly. If you do that every day I know this sounds awful, but for 2 or 3 months, it will close you down permanently. And I had experience of that when I was a child, and my guides allowed me not to be attacked, that's the wrong word, but allowed me to sense what was happening with the dark and deal with it myself. And then they showed me how to deal with it. I've cleared houses with this technique. I would certainly do that. If it's just troublesome, I would say do it for a week, see how it goes. But if you truly want to shut down completely, I would do that. Well, you'll find it'll lessen.
I don't think I want to shut down completely. I don't want to turn them off forever. But they just need to give me a break.
The other bit is, I know Leo's mentioned a couple times, and we both work with our spirit guide. I'm not sure if you have a relationship with your spirit guide yet, or if you know who they are or how to work with them. I know we're limited on time today, but I do have on my YouTube channel a guided 10-minute meditation to help you meet your spirit guide and start learning to work with them, so they can, as Leo mentioned, help you get this a bit more under control for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds really good.
Yeah,
because
and if you
I don't want to get rid of them. I mean, they've been a part of my life forever.
Yeah, if you want to control the situation, Penny, what I would do is go through that routine that I expressed. Leave it for about a week. You'll see then, it may be longer, you'll see that it starts to creep back. Do it again, and you'll find it will last a bit longer, and then you'll find that you'll have control. And if you want to then say, right, now I have control, this is an appropriate time, only this time, then you'll get control. It's always nice to have contact with spirit, but if it's too much, you have that control to cut off as well.
I think that's great advice. Learning how to work with the energy in your space is really powerful. Leo's totally right.
Okay. All right. Well, that's been some great advice.
No problem, honey. We'll let you go because we've got a few minutes to go into the break, and then we have Suzanne, another regular on the line, and she's wishing Joy and I happy Christmas and happy Merry Christmas. And
happy Christmas to you too, Suzanne.
Oh, bless you.
And Thank you so much.
Not a problem. Not a problem. It is.
I mean, you can't just find people that you can talk to about this every day.
Yeah, and people, this is one of the problems. I think Joy would agree with me. Is that if you don't know you have control or can have control, you just live with it. And so this knowledge, about messages that Joy gives and mediums give, it's so important to understand. It shouldn't be a nuisance. We do have control, and it's lovely to have, but we've got a life to live as well,
So true.
Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh,
and I thank Darcy for hooking me up with you.
Well, we're glad to have you calling in for the first time today.
No problem. And look at Joy's site for, that meditation.
I'm going to.
Fantastic.
Yep, I'm going to look that up, and I'm going to take your advice too, Leo. Thank you so much.
Bless you.
Wonderful.
Bless you. You take care, Penny.
You
God
too.
bless. Bye. Okay, so Susan is wanting to see if there is any messages from Spirit, so we can look into that after the break. It's one of the things that we get taught when we're training, isn't it, Joy? That we have control.
Yes, I was very fortunate that my first my Reiki master trainer was actually basically my psychic foundation trainer, and she was wonderful at teaching me that when we're in a physical body, we are able to control, we're the boss of our body, if you will. We are able to control that. It just does take some practice.
It does. And then, of course, when you get control, you can kind of work with it at your speed and allow particular things to happen to gain experiences. I think there are far too many films around that just say, like, this is it. This is it, and get on with it.
And I love the way you said it. They get excited when they can see, oh my gosh, this person's a medium. They can hear me. It's almost like I see like a little light bulb on each of us, and they think, okay, that one has the light. Go over there. So, well, it
literally is that they can see our aura and they can see that light. And they get so excited, it's, we can be seen, they can hear us. Oh my God, I want to chat. And it's like, yeah, that's okay, but it's 5 a.m.
Right. And there is such value to learning how to settle down your space and just, calm it down we have to live our human lives as well. It's part of our lesson and purpose here.
Absolutely. If we're so connected to Spirit that we're disconnected from life and we're not grounded, you get they use sleep deprivation as torture, don't they? So it's there are all kinds of things, ways in which this can impact us or people in negative ways, and it's great to have the training. We're just going to go into a break. Do have a look at the Meditation on Joy's YouTube site, and we'll be right back after this.
You've been listening to Leo Bonomo. The host of The Voice of Spirit. Live every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, guests, and host of The Voice of Spirit, or to book a private reading, please visit leo-bonomo.com. That's leo-bonomo.com. Your connection to the other side is just a phone call away. The Voice of Spirit.
It is amazing, is it not?
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.
In the deep recesses of one's mind, there is a voice, a guiding light through the darkness, a connection to the other side.
You're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
A pathway to spiritual that echoes with enlightenment. The Voice of Spirit.
The Voice of Spirit.
You are a function of this total galaxy, bounded by the Milky Way, and that furthermore, this galaxy is a function of all other galaxies.
Your journey starts here and now. With your host and connection to Spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, very, very warm welcome back. Joy and I were touching on direct voice mediumship, which reminded me, if you want to listen to direct voice, I have a new book coming out on Leslie Flint, the world's greatest direct voice medium, and during his lifetime, the most tested medium ever. So there's a book coming out. It's transcripts, but with the book are recordings of real people in spirit talking with their own voices. So if it's got some fantastic reviews already. It's coming out in January, but if you want more information or to pre-order, you can go to info at leo-bonomo.com and just go to the blog page and you can find out some information there. If you want to pre-order, you will get a signed copy. So just let me know. But it's people in spirit talking about their lives in their own voice. It's a wonderful thing. Okay, we have Suzanne in the chat room, and Joy's just linking in to see what we can get for Suzanne. So welcome back, Joyce.
Hi,
Joy.
welcome back. I'm ready to go.
Fantastic.
Tuning in during that intro, and I'm very excited to learn about your new book too. I love direct voice, as you know. So for Suzanne, the first thing I'm becoming aware of is color, which I'm not sure if you mentioned this. It was my initial thing that I've always seen color, and now I understand there are prescribed meanings for different colors. The first color that's coming forward for Suzanne is the orange, which, as you may know, is the combination of the red and the yellow together and signifies spiritual healing. So I feel like this is still coming in to full orange, which means that the spiritual healing and the things you've been working on in your physical life and your spiritual life are just going to be melting together to form a really solid orange as we start this new year, allowing you to fully access the yellow, which is the wisdom that you've learned from your past. And with that, there's a lot of green, so that signifies new beginnings. With you, Suzanne, I do feel like there will be some people that you know in the physical world that may start shifting out of your life a little bit more. And I would encourage you just to let that happen and let them go. I think you'll see a falling away, I want to say in the first 3 months of the year through March, with just some things that are no longer serving you, shifting out of your focus and out of your life a bit. And I would just allow that to happen. And with that, you'll see some new opportunities coming your way. They'll come in the form of like invitations to an event that you may not have considered before, or a gathering or a talk. And I would say just embrace these new opportunities because they will guide you forward into this new beginning and this new part of your life. I do feel like you've also been having some health struggles over the last year or so, and I know that you're working on those. And I would say just keep diligently working, but also look forward to these new opportunities. So I think that'll all wrap together to help you for your physical and spiritual healing. That's what I got.
Fantastic. So hopefully that makes sense, Suzanne. I do know Suzanne, and I know a little bit about her, so it's just to kind of clear that out the way. But I do feel, Suzanne, that you and I will meet in Spain at some point during the year. I just keep getting impressed with that. I may have said that before. Whoever's here has just reminded me that I'm repeating myself. So thanks for the information from Spirit, and thank you for the the reminder that I've said it before. But hopefully that makes sense. Do get back to us and let us know. We have Raven's Pride in the chat room, and she's asking if there are any messages for her.
I did see that as you were talking. And the first thing that's coming forward for me is this really beautiful, vibrant purple. So I know with Raven's Pride, you must be beginning to work on your connection to spirit, if you haven't done so already, through meditation. And there's this beautiful, brilliant blue that comes in for your clairvoyance and your communication. So I know that you must be starting to work clairvoyantly, even if it's just not professionally, but just for your own work. So I see that coming into fruition with this orange that is encouraging you to just keep stepping forward into this spiritual path, and that it'll all make sense down the line. You don't have to give up your day job just yet, but if it is that you're wanting to consider working more in this field, just keep your practice, keep learning, keep growing, and allowing that spirit communication with your guides, your angels, your higher power, as well as the spirit world, just to keep coming in more and more, create the space for it, and honor that call within yourself. Because I do feel like you've been really feeling the yearning and the pull towards it. And I would just encourage you to honor that and keep moving forward with it.
That's brilliant. We touched a little bit, didn't we, on direct voice. So for people that are new listeners that are not aware of direct voices. Tell us a little bit about that and how you work and who may come through.
So for me, the way I first started working with direct voice, I actually started training this way before I started training in the traditional mediumship, giving messages and evidence as we know it, just because for some reason I felt more comfortable with guides and angels, ascended masters than passed over loved ones. I don't know why. So the way I was trained were essentially I can take my consciousness, we say up and out. So I move my own awareness to the side and allow either a guide, ascended master, or angel that I have already made communication with to understand that they are in agreement, basically, that they can take over and use my voice channel and plug directly into my voice. So my voice, I let them know they don't have to alter my voice completely, but it will often change in some way. And I have recordings of it because I'm only partially aware when it's happening. I intentionally enter into the space, but I partially am aware of the words that are coming through is the way I want to say it. And we just make sure we're at affinity with the agreement that they come only down through my voice box and no further down. I don't care to be animated at this point. And they'll just channel either a message, a healing. I've done it actually in front of a large group where it was Archangel Raphael that stepped in and gave this beautiful healing to everyone. And it was, I watched the recordings, so that's why I know what happened. But he had everyone, put a healing question or concern in this beautiful green bubble and then bring it down into their space. So sometimes it's like that. And sometimes it's more of like a reading or guidance in that way. But it is their voice plugging in through my voice channels. And it's often the cadence of the speech is either much faster or much more rhythmic or just a totally different way than I would speak. And as you mentioned before, sometimes using words or phrases or a way of speaking, that's just not something I would ever use. And sometimes I'm even in there like, oh, that's an interesting way to say that. Okay.
Sometimes I go into trance. It's not direct voice, but sometimes you are aware more than others, and you do hear yourself saying, certainly for me at the start, if I hear someone, it depends how deep it goes, but sometimes there's quite a lot of preparation because the throat is clicking, I can't talk, I need to clear, and it's just them really sort of preparing me for them. And sometimes I hear the first few lines and I think, that's interesting. and then that's it, it's blackout. And it is it's interesting, as you say, when you I've never videoed myself going into trance. It's I suppose it's something I could do, I'm not sure really. But when you hear it back, when the recording is played back, it's like, oh my god, really? Because they tackle all kinds of subjects, don't they? And that's what's interesting,
It's so fascinating.
It's a strange profession we're in, aren't we? Because I say we, I mean, we're being used, of course, but we can talk professionally with knowledge on subjects we have no idea about, because that knowledge is with the person coming through. And
that piece of it's really interesting to me. I've done a lot of experiments. I think we should all experiment with our gifts and test them out. And I like to consider myself an open-minded skeptic. I don't just believe everything that comes across.
Absolutely.
But it's been fun to test it out for sure.
Yeah, and we have to be skeptical, and I know some listeners hearing that would think that extremely odd, but I think as a recipient of a message, we have to be skeptical, because it's only when you work through that, and sometimes people are lucky enough to get a life-changing message in one shot. I mean, it's extremely rare. Usually it's decades of getting messages and being skeptical and understanding that there's no way that could have happened unless it was, my dad or whoever it might be. So I find that very interesting. There was a superb exponent of this called, I'm sure you've heard of him, Edgar Casey, and known as the Sleeping Prophet as well. And he would access the Akashic records, and he'd have all kinds of people, scientists, brain surgeons, astronomers, and whoever came through him, would, for example, talk to him about newly developed and intimate brain surgery techniques on their level. And it's like, because people say, like, well, you must have read this up. But, when there's a brand new discovery in surgery that actually we now understand this works this way, and someone comes through from spirit and talks intimately on that, for an hour, we're not talking like 2 or 3 minutes, here's a couple of suggestions. I think it's then that people understand. We sort of touched on it before, didn't we, about being a jack of all trades and trying to to have that depth of knowledge on any subject that came through Casey. We can't learn that.
Oh yeah, it's impossible.
You haven't got a long enough life to do those. And I think, if I'm correct, Casey, in the Casey archives, I think there's over 42,000 files on any and every subject you can imagine, whether it's well-being or mediumship or healing. Such a phenomenon. I can't say the word. Phenomenon himself. I'm glad I was able to spit that one out. Susan's just come back, and she's saying spot on, Joy. So that was fantastic.
Good. That was useful for her.
Oh, bless, yeah. And Raven's Pride has come through as well and said thank you very, very much. What part of mediumship excites you most, Joy? Is it the fact that there's direct voice there, and because I think it's wonderful for us to sort of experience the first time when we listen to a recording and somebody's come through speaking about things that we have no knowledge of. Is it that kind of thing? Because again, when that's recorded and we can listen to it, it's one thing, but we don't remember messages, do we? Or it's very rare.
Yeah, it's very rare. I don't know if I have a favorite part, and I think I'm just one of those people that gets really bored if I'm not constantly learning. So I think that probably is my favorite part, that there's always more to learn and another level to excel to, and deeper evidence to give and more of the story to unfold. Because it's always my goal with the loved one, or sometimes not loved one, but for someone we knew in the spirit world, to tell more of their story in a deeper and more meaningful way. My favorite part of the readings is usually when it's that gem that they can't validate in the sitting, but have to go later and ask someone else about.
Absolutely.
Or they have to look in their jewelry box and see, oh, in fact, I am keeping this piece of jewelry in a little pouch, in the second drawer, or whatever it is. And that's where the magic of the spirit world, I think, really shows through, because a huge part of it is, to validate the existence of life after death and that there is something that goes on after this. But for me, the other piece is to validate that they are still present in our lives. They're just in a different way.
Absolutely. I mean, if you go back several years, 20 years and more, skeptics used to accuse us of reading people's minds, which, when you think that's quite a feat in itself.
That's always a little funny to me, because I'm like, I can read your mind, but I can't talk to an invisible person.
Another discarnate mind. And to me, what's really amusing about that is that steadfast view of there is nothing after life. So the default mode is you're reading their minds. I mean, it is ridiculous. But skeptics are much more quieter now. I think, with the advent of science and quantum physics, there is so much information that's coming out. I was reading about a university in the States, and I can't think. There's a link on my site to this university, and they have been studying this subject for 50 years, and they had 4 or 5 speakers on. They were talking about different things, and I think the thing that's really defeating skeptics now is that it is much more scientific. And because so many people are opening up to it, it's a wonderful thing. You can't just fob someone off and say, well, that door slammed because the wind shut it,
Yes.
So it's a wonderful thing. Have you been on it's not my kind of thing, but have you been on ghost hunts, Joy, and that?
No, I still get really scared of that kind of stuff, which is hilarious. But I am going in February to Arthur Findlay College, which is outside of London, as you know. And I've heard that there are quite a few occurrences there. So I'm really excited, for the tuition, just to learn, but also just to have the full experience and see what goes bump in the day or night there. Because I've heard that, often for me, a lot of my mediumship is subjective, which means I see it inside my mind, almost like if someone was telling you a story of their day and you can envision it. It's like that, right? Rather than objective, which is seeing someone outside of myself, just like I see a chair across the room. But I've heard that there are a lot more of the outside of us experiences objective that happen there. And so it'll be really exciting and fun. I have kind of joked and said I was going to ask Santa for one of those infrared cameras so I could set it up in my room at night, just see what happens. But
the thing is, if you kind of invite that, then and of course you would be safe because we know how to protect ourselves. But if you invite that, they kind of think, oh well, there's an invitation, and they think, it was just one night, I just wanted to see, like how Call a Penny, I don't need this all night. If you do sorry, our gentleman friend, but as I'm saying, if you do, and he says, what do you mean? She is. So when you come over to Arthur Findlay College, do look me up. Hopefully we can meet. I do live some way away from there, but I can come over and meet you, and we can have a chat. That would be great. Yeah,
that would be great.
That would be fantastic. Because there's a large society. That's the wrong. He's just said that's the wrong word. There's a large section of society in the States. Where would you say would be a good place to learn, for people to come to you, and some of the experiences that you've had there? There's I can never remember the name, but it's in New York State. There's a place where there are lots of mediums. And
now that you've said it, I can't remember it. Lilydale. Lilydale, which is lovely. I haven't been there. It's a little ways, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, from what I understand, but it's supposed to be just amazing. I'm in San Diego, California, so it is a bit more open-minded here, but we don't have really formal schools. The gal I mentioned before, Kelly, and I run a monthly development circle. We just facilitate it rather than teaching, is like what we like to say, but for people wanting to explore their gifts who are local here. But I really think that a lot of the very strong British mediums like Andy Bing and Mavis Patilla are doing mentorships where there's an online component. So you can be online receiving just amazing tuition. And I would say for anyone wanting to develop, just find the teacher that speaks to your heart and stay with them for a bit, because it really is impossible to train in more than one vein of teaching at the same time. I've tried. So
absolutely. And when I was trying, I was also going to various different circles, because again, there's part of the personality that influences or intrudes, even in a good way. And so different teachers work different ways, don't they? And it's important to get different views. It's really interesting. Well, perhaps it's something that you and your friend can think about, and hopefully gain gain some followers and people that are interested, from this program, because
we've got the one group that's doing well, and we're thinking about starting another, just because there aren't a lot of development groups here where you sit with a group of other people and do exercises or meditate together or whatnot. There's a need for it, and so hopefully we'll be able to keep expanding with it. We're not teaching formal classes just yet, although I have received the message from my guide on several occasions that I will be doing that in the near future. So I'm open to that, but
I've just got a thumbs up from your guy, and it's quite funny because he's been quite stern as he's speaking, but as he smiled, the moustache has kind of risen. With the face, which is something I wasn't expecting. But yeah, I think that would be good, because teachers, tutors, like mediums, vary an awful lot, and it's when you get a good tutor, you need to learn as much from them as you can. So hopefully that'll be something that will take off for you, because I think it's very important. And as you say, you don't stop learning. Like you, I've seen things since I was 2. I'm 63 in a couple of months, and I learn something every day. And I've said this many times, mostly what I learn is I don't really know anything, because it's so humbling. When something comes up and you go, oh my God, I should have seen that 20 years ago. And it's like, but we never stop learning, and it's a wonderful thing. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about what you're doing. Have you seen other forms of physical mediumship is one thing that I want to ask you. So if you do have any questions, it's the last quarter of the show, but we'll be right back after this.
This is the voice of spirit, your connection to the other side.
To understand something spiritually, you must experience it. And in order to experience it, you have to experience it in your imagination.
Explore with us by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Everything that now exists was once imagined. Therefore, everything that is going to exist must first be imagined.
Back with your guide to spirit, Leo Bonomo. After these brief words from our sponsors.
Your journey from the land of the living to the afterlife starts here. The Weird Tales Radio Show. Thursdays, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Your weekly fix for ghost stories, urban myths, witchcraft, and folklore. Hosted by the sometimes werewolf hunter, Charles Christian, and his co-host, Janie Christian. The Weird Tales Radio Show is an off-the-wall, fabulously atmospheric, and radio magazine formatted show, rated as one of the UK's most listened to podcasts. If you're a fan of the weird and unusual, then tune in if you dare. Thursdays, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. The Weird Tales Radio Show. The one show that takes your fears of the unknown and spins them into reality. The Weird Tales Radio Show on the KCOR Digital Radio Network, where the weird and the strange come out to play.
Alien Deceptions, a suspenseful sci-fi romance thriller by Tina Marie, featuring the tantalizing Erica Jones and the mysterious Russell Hamilton. An out-of-this-world book of fiction based on years of document facts and files the government does not want you to know about, at least not yet. Alien Deceptions by Tina Marie. Available now at Amazon.com or get a signed copy at TinaMarieEntertainment.com. Get your copy now.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is your captain. I'd like to welcome you on Jackpot Airlines Flight 1610, service to Lost Wages.
They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, apparently, they need a reality check done Vegas style.
Vegas, 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 Vegas.
Tune in Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, for Reality Check, hosted by Jessica Johns, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Biggest star in the world, bigger than Britney and Christina put together.
If it's happening on the Vegas Strip, you'll know about it here first.
You are a dirty little fun haver.
Join Jessica Johns as she explores and goes behind the scenes of what's hot and what's not. From the best entertainment Vegas has to offer to national celebrity gossip.
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Jessica has her finger on the heartbeat of the city, and she's waiting to share it with you. Reality Check, hosted by Jessica Johns. Wednesday, 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern. She does Vegas right.
Yeah, baby.
Are you ready to go?
It's showtime.
Here we go, world. You're listening to the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Broadcasting from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Their base is so large it has to draw most of its power from the nearby nuclear fusion plant.
The future of radio is here and now.
Welcome back to the Voice of Spirit, your connection to the other side.
There's no accidents in this universe. We all show up here with a purpose. There's an intelligence that is a part of everything and everyone, and all of us are connected to it.
Connect with us on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us live in our chat room at KCORradio.com. To get a free reading during the show, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers, use Skype name KCOR Radio. And now, inspirational clairvoyant medium, psychic, and your connection to the spirit, the host of the Voice of Spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Warm welcome back. I'm talking to a lovely medium, a great medium, Joy Giovani. And we're talking about various things and also some of the physical mediumship we were talking about in the break, and it's something we're going to introduce into this last quarter. If you've not seen physical mediumship or you've not heard people properly going into trance, then it is still a wonder of our age. And we were saying, weren't we, about that phenomena, and you having not experienced that, but something that you're eager to.
Very excited to experience it. And hopefully, as we chatted about, I'll have some time when I'm in your neck of the woods to see some. Not that I'm aware of. Do we really have much of that where I am anyway? So it's a whole different, it is becoming a little bit of a lost art, I think, just because there is so much dedication and practice needed to get to that point where you can, physically manifest, or transfiguration, which is when your face changes. I'm really excited to get to see it one day. I know there's some YouTube videos. I think Gordon Higginson has a couple really old ones. So you can, there's some that you can see, but just like anything else, nothing's like being in person.
Absolutely, because again, I've been privileged to have sat in physical circles, and traditionally they're done in the dark, but they use new energies now. And I've sat in physical circles where it's been quite bright. You can certainly see each other, and spirit have appeared. And as we were saying during the break, sometimes you can't touch them because there's an adverse reaction. The ectoplasm basically snaps back into the body. And although you can't find ectoplasm per se within the body, it is in the It's not the spleen. Where is it? Oh my God, I've forgotten the organ that it's in. But it's in an organ, and there are several chemicals there. And what spirit do is draw that out to make ectoplasm. And because it's a vital fluid, it's life-giving. And if it's disturbed, it can snap back into the body. People have had severe burns. And Helen Duncan died from it 14 days after the seance was broken into. But when they use new energies and there's light involved, it's a different thing because ectoplasm is very light sensitive. But to sit in the circle and physically feel a guide walking along, and you can hear and feel the weight of the floorboards flexing as they're walking along, and to reach out and touch you, which they ask your permission. They're solid, they're warm. It's not ghostly as most people imagine, but to experience that is wonderful.
Yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully I'll get that opportunity, just because I know that it's few and far between these days, unfortunately.
It is very rare. It was the sort of mainstay of mediumship if we go back to Victorian times and that. But there's still some good ones out there. So, hopefully we'll be able to get together and we'll have time to meet. And but if anyone's interested and they're coming to this country, if you want to contact me at info@leo-bonomo, bonomo.com. There is a place called the Parsonage, which I highly, highly recommend. And you can go and sit in physical circles. So hopefully we have the opportunity to do that. Do let me know. Send me an email.
I will. I'm excited.
Joy. Yeah. Because it would just be great to see. And if we can get together and you can experience that.
That'd be so fun. I mean, that's one of the great things about mediumship is that it allows you to have that childlike wonder and excitement on a regular basis of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is about to happen.
Absolutely. And I think it's essential to keep that. Carlos Santana's a very, very spiritual guy. And he talks about seeing Jimi Hendrix and all the colours as, in colour vibration are linked, aren't they? But he talks about when he was watching Jimmy playing with all the colours and mixing devils and demons and angels together while he was on stage. And he said we should strive to be childlike, not childish, but childlike. Yeah. And it's in the Bible as well, isn't it? Suffer little children. We are little children. And if we're childlike, a whole new world opens up. Fantastic.
Well, it's just kind of like you mentioned before, the more that we learn, the more we know that there's more to know. So
absolutely. It's an awe-inspiring thing and very humbling, and that's the way that it should be. So do you want to develop more physical mediumship in the way of transfiguration, direct voice, or how do you see that part going?
I'm open to it. I mean, I love the direct voice channeling. It's a little different. It's kind of apples and oranges for me in the way I experience it in my physical body. With mediumship, like on platform when we're delivering messages, or even in a one-on-one setting, even when we do the Facebook Live weekly, to be honest, I get this surgence of energy. So it's like this natural, energy boost. And we often can't go to sleep for several hours after an evening demonstration, for example. So I love all of it. And I'm really open to, I think there's a certain amount of my free will choice of saying, okay, this is the direction I'd like to go. And then for me, I like to have an equal balance of that guidance from spirit or the great spirit, however, we call our own higher power, of these are the ways that your life can unfold that would be in the truest expression of my own soul. So I'm open to that. And I'm wise enough to know that I don't always know what it is. So.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. And it's very interesting to say that, once you've been working, that you're on a high. It's like that for me. I think if you work the right way, there's a residue of that energy. I've talked to mediums and they've done like a 2-day workshop and they're going, oh my God, I'm wiped out. And to me, I don't understand it. I think if you're working the right way, you are energized. But some mediums don't. They will see that as a criticism, and they don't react very well to it. But I think if you are wiped out, there's something that you need to change. We've just got a message from Sharon, and she says, "I have a grandson who is only 10 but is showing signs of having the gift. How does one go about verifying, and is there an organisation I could call to get some guidance? I live in the lower part of Texas in the US." I
don't know that there's an organization that I'm aware of. Leo, you may have more insight on that. I would just say encourage him, listen to him, and in the response that you're giving him, just say things like, tell me more about that, or, what else is there, or what do you know about that? And just encourage him that it's safe and that he can express it in non-judgment. Because I think that's where a lot of us get stuck up, is when we feel judged or afraid that people will think we're crazy. So I would say as long as he's having a positive experience with it, just keep encouraging him. And I mean, there's fun little ways you can play with it. You can ask, we were just talking about predictions. So it's a little bit controversial in the psychic and mediumship realm, prediction. The way I like to do it is possibilities for the future, because we can become aware of different possibilities for the future. But you can do it in little fun ways with him, where have him kind of tune into a situation and say, okay, do you think we're going to get a parking space right away, or do you think we're going to have to drive around a lot? Or, little fun, inconsequential ways that he can tune in and just start having some fun with it.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely. Also, Sharon, I'm the UK director of, we changed the name from the ASSMPI, the American psychic organization, to the ISSMPI, because it truly is international now. But if you want to Google ASSMPI.org, because it started in the States and Jock Brokers. It's a big international, truly international organisation for mediums and mediumship and training. And the training is absolutely free. We don't charge. You can look there and get some information, or if you want to contact me as well on my website, Sharon, then I can guide you in the right direction, give you some links. But
what a fantastic resource that is! That's amazing.
It is, and we've got some excellent mediums. There's a lovely guy. I would certainly say he's currently the world's #1. Physical medium, a German guy called Kai Mugger, and if you want to look that up, it's KAI and it's MEUGGE. If you want to look him up or get in contact with me, and I can give you links. He's actually over at the Parsonage sometime next year. I can't remember where. Hopefully, and it's something that we can connect with again. Joy, but he's part of the organisation, so he is, if you like, a mentor on physical mediumship, so knowledgeable. So there's an organisation. It's free because training should be free. In the old days, with the Arthur Findlay College, it was actually set up to find mediums and to train them. And if they found someone that had certainly had a gift, then they were trained, housed, fed, absolutely free. So all they had to concentrate on was their gift. We can't go to that extent nowadays and just feed people. That was originally the purpose. And there are there need to be more mediums, whether it's mental mediums, physical mediums of different types, but there need to be. So hopefully, let us know, Sharon, if that helps you, and we can do that. But there is an organisation in the States. I would think also find if you can find a church, or go to Joy, of course. Then there are places. So. Texas, I'm not sure about, although I have a gentleman that's been here with Joy all night and passing little messages to her. And he says there's a couple of organisations in Texas. I don't know if you're in North Texas. He's talking about North Texas. That may or may not be pertinent to you, but I'm sure that there are some churches and that, and go by your own instincts, see how you feel, but there is training available. Hopefully that helps you. Oh, fantastic, Joy. So remind me when you're coming over to England again.
I will be there. I believe it's February 7th to the 19th or something like that. Let me look. Sadly, I have to look on my own calendar to know where when I'm going to be there. Like 7th through the 16th.
Okay. Yeah, I have to do that. I can never remember where I'm supposed to be. So I think I put it down to being a medium thing rather than it being a fault of my own. But that would be lovely, and it would be lovely to me. And
yeah, that would be great fun.
Yeah. Okay. So would you like to give us your website and your connection to
sure.
telephone, etc.?
So my personal website that you can learn about everything I do and how to get in touch with me is just my name, joygiovanni.net. It's JoyGiovanni, joygiovanni.net. And I try to keep all my social media really similar. So Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube is all Joy Giovani Psychic Medium. Just because that's the way people search it, so that's the way we have to say it.
Absolutely.
And you can email me directly at missjoyg, that's MISSJOYG @gmail.com is probably the fastest way to get in touch with me. I just sent Leo over through email a link to that every Tuesday Facebook Live that we do that'll be starting up again in January on the 7th. So if you'd like to volunteer to receive a free reading or just sit in and see what we do and how it works, you can also access that through the Facebook events page for my Facebook page, which is Joy Giovani Psychic Medium at Facebook. I'm learning all the social media stuff. I'm not the best at it, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, sort of Facebook's a pet hate of mine. It's unfortunately necessary, but it is a real pain, because again, once you go on there and you start answering people, which is nice, it's a nice thing to do, but you can look up and find you've been there 3 hours and it's like, oh my God, I've got stuff to do.
Yes, I do have to limit my time for sure, but it's so nice to be able to use that platform to do free readings for people, just because not everyone can make it to an event or can come to a private sitting, but anyone can get just a small 10 or 15 minute contact and see how it works and have an experience. Hopefully a positive experience is always the goal, right?
Yeah. Well, I sometimes give the example that I had. I used to work on the lines, and lines vary very, very much. You can get some great mediums on some not some good lines, and you can get some really poor mediums on really good lines. They don't always interview them, I have to say. But I was doing a reading at a company that I work with, a good company, good mediums, and this lady couldn't understand anything I'd given her. So, I was very honest. I said, look, I don't think we're connecting. I won't charge you, so they'll keep your money for another reading. And she called. She texted the company back, giving me some feedback, and she said Leo didn't think we were connecting. 6 days after, everything he said happened. So again, I wasn't.
Wow.
I wasn't aware that the information I was being given was going to happen in a few days. So she was very honest. It wasn't resonating with her, which it hadn't happened yet. But things can happen like that. And, you know, sometimes we feel, oh, we've not done, you know, it's been okay. And people will get back in touch with you and say, oh, my God, you know, this may have happened or that. So it's...
It's great fun when people give you the feedback, though, even if it's later on. And I sometimes will have a year later someone come for another sitting and say, you know, the things you told me a year ago all happened and I didn't understand them at the time. And I think a lot of us say it, but it's, you know, it's really important. Spirit will bring often what we need to hear, not necessarily what we want to hear. I kind of joke and say we all want to hear those winning lottery numbers, but
absolutely. Yeah.
Sometimes the need is more important.
Absolutely, I agree with you, and it is nice that people sort of give you feedback. Maybe it's a year, as you say, and you know, and they're really happy with it. I mean that's a joke that skeptics say all the time, isn't it? You know, well, if you're psychic, where are the lottery numbers? But it doesn't work like that. You know, it's. You know, I mean, you know, I think most people, even if they were a fairly good medium, they would go, do you know what? I've just won, perhaps in the States, $80 million. I'm going to take a rest. And then it might be a rest for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
And Spirit go, oh, we've just lost someone. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of reasons, isn't there?
True. My dad has this joke that when I was like 2 years old and, you know, you watch the numbers come out on the TV with the little balls that fall down. And he said, I would say, I know these numbers. And I would say them right before they were coming out. But he never could get me really to do it days ahead, so he could play it and benefit for it, but I could predict it like right before, but never honed in on that skill, so maybe I'll put that on the list.
Yeah, I had a similar thing. I could tell which horse was going to win the Grand National sometimes 5 or 10 minutes before, because the horse would just strike me, and I'm not a gambling man. I don't have any type of addictions, and one time I thought, do you know what, just pick a horse out. Of course, it never excuse me, it never finished, and it was just Spirit's way of saying we don't do that.
It's so funny, isn't it? It's like, not like that.
Yeah, it's quite infuriating as well, you know, because you can sit there and pick them, and then you think, I'm actually going to place this bet now, and it comes last. But that's
a funny thing.
Yeah, it's very strange. Any last things you want to remind us of, events that you're doing? I know you've just quickly run through, where people can contact you for readings.
Yeah, you can definitely get me through the website directly at joygiovani.net. And there also is a list there of all of the upcoming events. So even if you're not in Southern California, and you do want a private reading, for example, we can do that via Skype or Zoom or telephone. That all, for me, energetically works just the same as if I'm with you in person. So you don't actually have to travel all the way here to see me. We can work remotely. I work with people not just in the U.S., but in various countries that way, and it seems to be just as effective and powerful for them. Also, as I mentioned, we're trying to branch out into Arizona and maybe Colorado and Nevada, Las Vegas for sure. So if there are any listeners listening that are interested in organizing a larger event, you know, I'd be happy to travel and come out for those. If you want to see what I'm currently doing, probably just the joygiovani.net is the best way to see current upcoming events. Or you can also check in with Eventbrite, which is a platform we have here, and you can just search San Diego mediums, and that will give you tickets to most of the upcoming events.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, because again, you know, I have people question this all the time. I want to see face to face, and they may live in Scotland, and it's like, that's not going to happen. You know, and they do have a feeling that, well, it's by phone, it doesn't work the same, and it does, doesn't it? So
I like it just as much. It's really just tuning into the energy or the vibration of the person. They don't need to be in the physical space. So it's one of the other magical things about what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we can be truly international in that sense. It has been absolutely wonderful and fascinating to talk to you.
You too. I look forward to talking again, and I'm so excited for this new year of 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, our gentleman's just talking about the new direction that you're going in and the success that will follow.
So excited to report back. And I think I may be your last show of the decade. Is that true?
Hopefully not. You're certainly this decade, yeah. Hopefully I've got a decade. To go forward.
We're closing out 2019 with a big bang.
Absolutely. Well, anytime you want to come back on and be interviewed, you're most welcome.
Fantastic, and light and love to you and Tina and all the listeners now and in the future. Wishing you guys just an amazing new year and years to come.
Bless you, and the same back. Lots of light and lots of love. We're coming to a close now. So again, if you're interested in Joy, if you've just joined us, do look us up on the archive, and you can download it to keep, or you can just listen. But you're very, very welcome. So have a wonderful new year. Do enjoy that, and it's goodbye from Tina, the producer, myself, and the wonderful Joy. God bless.
Until we speak again, take care.
You've been listening to Leo Bonomo, the host of The Voice of Spirit, live every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, guests, and host of The Voice of Spirit, or to book a private reading, please visit leo-bonomo.com. That's leo-bonomo.com. Your connection to the other side is just a phone call away. The Voice of Spirit.
It is amazing, is it not?
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.